Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is the Everton Daily Live. Manchester United have been given a boost today because Jim Ratcliffe, in super quick time and against, who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought the Premier League would deal with Manchester United before Everton? Wow. I've given Ratcliffe the go-ahead to do whatever he wants, basically. Spend as much as he wants, because
we're not blaming
the
Premier League for this. Come on.
I'm 100% blaming the Premier League for it. 100%. We've been here before. 100%.
He just can prove he's got the hand gel to prove it.
100% Premier League.
Not everything's a conspiracy. Come on.
If you walk into a shop,
it's not
some fella. It should be, though.
It's not, though.
But it should be.
777 haven't provided.
They have provided.
They haven't.
They haven't
provided it.
Show me evidence. They haven't.
Show me evidence. They have.
Well, I've been told by someone close to it. They provided.
They have not provided. If they provided the evidence, they'd be in.
Bullshit.
They'd be in. They have not provided the evidence. Let's be real here. Science. Let's be real.
It's not, though, because it's based on a prejudice. It's not based on fact.
Based on prejudice.
It is. You don't want them.
I don't want them, but that's not the point. The point is, if they'd provided the evidence.
If you say so.
No, but if they had, they'd be in, wouldn't they?
No.
Why then? Why
because the Premier League are squeezing it.
Come on,
They're squeezing it, mate.
Sorry,
it's almost like we haven't had 10 points deducted as well.
I'm not having that.
And we haven't had the penalty.
I'm not having that. No, but these are things.
That's fine.
These are things.
That's fine.
777 have not produced the documentation. That's clear, because you can see that all the evidence suggests that they are a poorly run company or companies. That's there to see that they showed that, not the Premier League. That's on them.
If you say so.
But that's on them, isn't it? That's on them. Why are we sticking our neck out for a company that
I'm not.
That is.
I just want a decision. That decision could be go away. You are clowns.
You can't tell people to.
No problem.
You can't tell. The Premier League can't tell people to go away. They can ask for the evidence.
They can bin them, Pet.
They can't.
It was confirmed. They said they've got folders with all the people they've rejected.
No, they can reject them, but they can't say you'll never buy an Everton football club.
Reject it, put it out.
But then that's on Everton, and that's on Mashiri to say, go away then, you can't buy my football club, but he won't, because he's a little shithouse, and he knows this is his get out of jail card. That's the simple fact. This 777 are his get out of jail card. And I'm not guessing again, by the way. Don't say I'm guessing, because I'm not. Because if 777 had been accepted, they would have been accepted. I'm not guessing. They're obviously have not provided the documentation, because if they had, they'd be in. It's on them to provide it. Why are we backing people who can't provide evidence?
What you're doing is taking something and spinning it your own way.
Anyway,
no, you are.
When
have I said?
No, I didn't say you. I said Everton fans.
All I'm saying is make the decision. That's all I want. And if that decision is you are getting rejected because you haven't provided, I'm good with it.
It's not on the Premier League, though. It's not on the Premier. It's up to Everton. Why aren't Everton telling them to go away? Because they're so balls deep.
All right, how can you operate, right? Seriously, how can you run a company, right, that called the Premier League, where things have open-ended,
because it's not
deadlines? It's crazy.
But it's not on the Premier League, though. Everton are the club being taken over. It's not on the Premier League.
All right, well, if it's not on the Premier League, Farhad Mashiri's accepted that he wants to sell to these people, so the Premier League shouldn't have anything to do with it.
No, but the Premier League have to accept it, as in, are they fit and proper? Well, at the moment, they have not give the documentation clearly that the Premier League find acceptable. So it's up to the football club to say, there's obviously something going in here, but because it's a great deal for Mashiri. Like, I don't think the Premier League...
Is it a great deal for Mashiri, though?
Clearly it is, because it gets him out of the club. This 777 are here to provide... If they haven't provided documentation, that's on them. Why isn't there more scrutiny on them? Why aren't people asking that question?
There is a lot of scrutiny on them.
Why aren't we, as all of us together, saying, why hasn't this been done? That's the question, not why haven't the... Let's stay away from, like, our dislike of the Premier League and ask the question of why...
I'm not staying away from anything.
Why aren't people asking this question?
I'm straight down the middle here.
777.
I'm straight down the middle here. I'm not backing 777.
Yeah, but why? So why aren't we...
One person I certainly won't be backing is the Premier League.
Yeah, but that's fine.
They're clowns.
But the problem is
ran by a clown.
We have to ask the question, what have 777 got to do? And that's the question, not shine a light and say, oh, this is all terrible. We have to say, what have 777 got to provide, and start putting pressure on 777 then. The problem is, because they've bailed us out of trouble with the money, not enough people are prepared to do that. We have to look at them and say, well, they've got to say, this is what we're doing, this is what we've done, get it out there through third parties. But I look at the whole picture. I'm looking at the whole picture, thinking this is dragged on and dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. If 777 have got real complaints, then let's push it legally. Then push it legally and say these are people are stopping it. But all we've got is an impasse. All I look at is this is terrible for our football club. Absolutely terrible for our football club.
That's what I'm banging on about.
But if it's we can't be. I'm not picking a side. I'm saying you're not picking the Premier League side. But what I'm looking at is the 777 and saying, what are you doing to get this through? What are you doing? And that's the issue, isn't it? What are you doing? It's, you know, and we have to. This can't. It can't drag on. It can't drag on. And there's far too many people out there not putting pressure on 777. There's people putting pressure on 777 in terms of what they've done and the business deals, but I don't see enough people saying, what's going on with this? Like, why hasn't this deal gone through? There's too much of this. Well, you know, they've bailed Everton out here and they've bailed Everton out there. Let's get to the bottom of this, because it's dragging on. We've already gone through one transfer window where we could have done something, maybe if money was in place. Someone has to pull these and say, or someone at Everton has to pull the Premier League and say, what's going on? At the moment, nothing's going. It's clear that nothing's going on. It's just moving around and around and around. And who are the victims in this? Us, as a fan base, because we don't have leadership at the football club. When we need leadership at the most important time, when we've just had an independent commission, we're going to have another one. And it's us. It's us as a fan base that suffer again. These people have got to get this sorted on both sides. Yes, Premier League.
Just say, though, for argument's sake, they have provided them with everything.
But they clearly haven't, though, have they? Because legally, they has to. Well, if they have, come out and launch a legal challenge then, or something. Launch a legal challenge then. Say this is, or Everton, someone at Everton, Machinery, pipe up. You're the one who wants to get out.
In all of this, right? He is the worst of all of them.
Pipe up and say, I've seen the documentation. The Premier League are stopping us. What could they do to him? He's on his way out. Someone has to stand up in all this and start, because there's nothing we can do as a fan base. We are stuck here.
Why do you think
we are stuck?
I have never ever come on here and gone, I hope I'm praying it's 777. I'm still not saying it now. What I'm saying is, make the decision. If you can reject them, because the Premier, it's out there.
The Premier League.
They said they have got
the Premier League. You're right. No, the Premier League can reject, but they can't stop.
Okay, but
they can say.
No, but if they reject it, it means that the spotlight's back on it. We know they're not getting past. They could come back in a year and have another go, as Newcastle's owners did. But they came out and rejected Newcastle. It was only that Dave slipped it through at 8:30 in the night when everyone had gone home that it eventually went through. But the Premier League, that was out everywhere. They've rejected it because that American businessman,
but it depends,
Californian
again,
fella, was going to buy Newcastle.
It depends what. It depends. Again, it's all wording, isn't it? Rejecting, they could have, maybe they have rejected 777s, but it's that thing of like, well, we don't really reject. It's just a word that people use. It's just a word that people use in the media. You know, whether they've gone, we've rejected this piece of paper that says, or let's get it right. The Newcastle one's very different to this one, because the Newcastle one was all about TV rights in the Middle East. It wasn't about whether people had money or not. It was simply down to your country pirates our brand and you don't pay for it. This has to get sorted, and it has to get sorted on both sides. This is not, and it's not about taking sides. It's about looking at the situation and going, this has to get sorted. It's us as fans, once again. We need, you know, who's to say if it hadn't been sorted before the first thing? We mightn't have got first class people in to do the first.
Why do you think I'm banging on about it? I'm not banging on about it. I couldn't care less if it's 777. No, I'd love it to be a big Q80 consortium with 800 billion to spend.
But it's it is
there's nobody else out there.
It's important that the spotlight is shined on all of the people who are involved. Mashiri has got an opportunity to come out and say, I want this deal to go through, and these people come in good faith and they've spent money and the Premier League are doing this. No, nothing. They can't do anything to him. He's on his way out.
Yeah.
But someone's got to start speaking up.
Richard Scudamore said the Premier League rejected many prospective owners, too many to mention. Because when the ones that don't pass the owners and directors test. Right, now that you're absolutely right. Maybe that just means we're not giving you the opportunity to take it over now. They don't go away. Well, but come out and tell us then that they've rejected
but they're obviously allowing.
They're under the spotlight.
They're obviously allowing 777 the time to get whatever they need to do. Because in good faith, maybe they're going, well, Everton need these people, and we're willing to sit there. But at the end of the day, Ineos are getting there. It is
a different deal.
It's a different deal. It's only 25%,
isn't it?
And the fella who owns Ineos, whether you like him or you don't like him, has made a hell of a lot of money out of Angel, basically. And has got the money, but he's only and I don't understand personally. I don't understand why 777 don't just come in the same way and
come in on a lower level
and just work their way up and buy it out. Maybe that'll skew. The way a deal is done or what Machete gets out of a deal. But at the moment, 777 are ploughing money into Everton and yet don't have the representation. Now that will be frustrating. So do something about it. Just do something about it. Either get someone in and say we'll start with a part ownership and work your way up, because this situation is no good for anybody. It's absolutely no good for anybody. We don't have a board. We don't have a CEO. We don't have a chairman. And, as I said, we're seeing Manchester United get theirs through. So
you're right, it is different. It's a part ownership and all of that stuff. It is a different situation, but it's still absolutely
But I do think
horrible.
I do think though we need to sort of get away from this idea that there are massive conspiracy theories. The Premier League are just a rubbish organisation in my eyes. They're just a really bad organisation.
When you dismiss the vindictiveness of the Premier League,
I just think they're a terrible organisation.
I just don't think you can dismiss the vindictiveness towards it. I'm not saying everything is a conspiracy, and we should all put our tinfoil hats
No, but
on.
I think the problem is.
But I
think the problem is
Everton are treated.
People do buy into conspiracies as a whole, though, and then paint the whole thing as everything is one big conspiracy. The Premier League is just a really bad organisation that have obviously picked Everton out, and
But
yes,
why have they picked Everton out?
Because
there's an independent
sick
regulator.
and tired of us as what has gone on.
No, yesterday, like me and John were doing stuff. It was all off camera. We just sat there and he just went through some numbers for me, right? Basic numbers. He went through and he went, what about this? What about that? Right? Everton's overspend to get this PSR thing, right, works out to 4.6 million a season, right? There's zero sporting advantage. Anywhere in the rules, actually, Mike Gow's done, and Patrick's posted it today on More Than a Game, he posted it. Mike Gow's done a thing about it. It's absolutely brilliant. Breaks it down what Everton's appeals should look like and all of that. It's absolutely brilliant. Go and read it. But what he says is, the PSR stuff, there is nowhere in the Premier League handbook, nowhere, right, that PSR is linked to sporting advantage. There's nowhere. Right? PSR, he says here, PSR literally stands to make sure the club doesn't go into administration. Basically, that's all it's for. It's got nothing to do with on the pitch. Absolutely nothing to do with it. And therefore, how you can then punish a club using a sporting advantage
I agree
is
with,
absolutely incredible.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with. I 100% agree with all that.
This lot, what Everton have been done for by the Premier League, you can say, they were probably just sick of them. The reality is, it's £4.5 million a season when they are building a £760 million stadium.
they're confusing the point. I don't look at the commission and think, oh, that was all done. The whole thing is just a mess. They haven't sorted. They haven't got anything in terms of a plan, in terms of how they were going to deal with anything. They've rushed all this through. They've put it into a commission. It's all muddled. I think it's a big disgrace. I'm not.
Like Queen said,
not talking about anything like that. What I'm saying is, people have got to be careful that we don't just put everything, because the minute you start putting everything into one big pot, we don't get penalties, we don't get this happened, that happened on the pitch. People just look at you and they just think your argument is just pointless.
But this is what happened internally in the club. Everyone started blaming Bill Kenwright for the fact Kevin Thelwell couldn't.
But that's not a conspiracy.
But it's what you're saying. You build on everything. It happens in life with everything, doesn't it? Everything.
The point.
We're looking for someone to blame. Always.
Yeah, of course.
That will happen in every walk of life.
But we've got
some evidence here.
We've got some evidence for one thing, but that's what I'm saying. We've got evidence for one thing. We haven't got evidence for all of it. But we're all connecting the dots and joining it up, and that's what I'm saying. People got to be careful not to do that, because otherwise, people give you no sympathy. People think you're playing the victim. People think you're crying about everything. It's important to separate things, I think. I think it's important to take away what's happening with 777 and then on the other side, the commission. I think it's important to separate those two things, because if you throw everything into the melting pot together, people just look at you and go, certainly the people who we do need help from, who are the media, who need to be sympathetic to our story, people just think, oh, you're just crying about everything. You've got a victim's mentality. They are separate things, and I think they need to be looked at separately. And that's what I'm saying. It's important not just throw everything into the mix together. The whole commission thing is a mess. It's been a mess since day one. We all know the reasons in terms of how we got here and why we feel it's unjust, and the punishment doesn't fit the bill, and actually the punishment is just being made of its own. But I think that's a separate thing. All these things have just been hit as at once, and that's why it's hard sometimes to go, well, they must be all interconnected. It needs leadership. That's my point. It needs some kind of leadership, and we're not being provided that leadership.
But we're not being provided that leadership from the organisation that we play in, though.
But why do we need organisation? Why do we need leadership?
You can't. It absolutely blows my mind. You can have an organisation that picks and chooses when it does things. How can you have an ongoing appeal, right? This even like this points thing right now. They've already got all the information. The information's all been done. It was all done in October. So everything for the appeal.
Yeah. So
right.
We've had the appeal.
So the new appeal people had everything at their fingertips.
Yeah.
So therefore, the process should have been cut in half. And this is lawyers saying this as well. I'm just not making this up on the fly. Legal people saying this process really should have been concluded in 7 days once they've had all the evidence. And yet now we're being told, it might be next week, which is actually longer than the first one. What the fuck's that all about? And then we're going, right, once that's done, you know what? We'll get round to the other thing in about April. And then when the season's finished, we'll have a little get-together and we'll decide who stays up and who goes down. What is going on? What is going on in football? It's bollocks. This season is worse than the COVID season. It should be voided. It's shite.
I 100% agree with everything you've just said, but that's the point. Everything you just said is absolutely fact and right and true. But what shouldn't happen is it shouldn't get caught up in this stuff over here. And that's what I'm saying, is that everything you've just said is 100%. They don't have a processing plan. They have come up with this quick fix scenario that nobody is ready for. There's too many legal, clearly, that's way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
There's far too many legal things, ramifications that they are trying to somehow, because they've taken the process of a higher power out of it, not God. A CAS, European Court, all that kind of thing, and they're trying to boil it down to 3 people in a room, and we've got Silky in there, and he's providing all this kind of legal jargon that might be wrapping them up in red tape. is that it's too big, it's too complicated. That's what Manchester City have done. Manchester City have gone in there and gone, lads, knock yourselves out. Here's all our evidence. And I've given them about 3 million boxes and gone, go ahead, sort yourself out, lads. Go ahead. Take as much time as you need.
Fear after.
We walked in a room and said, yeah, we did it. And probably handed over a A4 piece of paper with headlock written on it or something. I don't know. But that's a thing that they of the Premier League have made an absolute pig's ear of. Absolute pig's ear of it. It's a mess. And Masters should walk because of it. 100%.
Looks like he's gone, doesn't it?
100%. The pressure's on him now. He's bit off more than he can chew. 100%. Because he doesn't know how to... The other thing is, all of this is getting on top of him. He's got, as I said last week when we were talking about this, he when he was asked about Everton's takeover, he had no idea.
No.
He had no idea about it. He was asked the question and he just went, probably a couple of weeks. So it's like if I asked Ned when's a podcast going to, probably by, it's that thing of like, I've just caught you on the hop.
Yeah.
The organisation, the organisation's not probably not big enough to cope with all this stuff at once.
So don't bring it all on yourself.
No, well, that's again, that's a thing, isn't it? That's on them. Again, that's a thing. I 100% agree. They're a terrible organisation. They're not fit for purpose. It's ran away from them. If you're going to have a fella running it, make sure it's not the fourth best fella. Make it the number one fella or woman. And make sure that person has everything they need. That's what we'll look. If you're looking at it, the Premier League is not fit for purpose at the moment. We 100% all agree on that. It's got away from itself. But going back to the original point, I think the fact that Manchester United have been granted or Jim Ratcliffe's been granted the opportunity to take over 25% stake, we shouldn't be drawn into that. We shouldn't be drawn into that. We can now look at it and go, well, now that's done, lads. Surely all your focus is on Everton then. Come on. Can we out? Do we know when we're going to do it? Do we know what's going on? Now the pressure should be, people at the football club should be ringing up going, where are we, lads? What's going on? Journalists should be asking the same, and that's the most important thing.
That's the weirdest
Journalists
one.
should be ringing them up saying, right, you've got the Ratcliffe one done, where are Everton? We need answers, because actually people, their fan base and other fan bases, stakeholders need to know where Everton Football Club are, because if you don't, if you're not letting us know, then it's not really a transparent operation. And if it's not a transparent operation, then maybe you need to get a ombudsman in there to sort it all out. And that's the top and bottom of it. But it's a big muddled mess, and I don't think as a football club, or certainly a potential new ownership, we're helping, are we? We're just September this all started.
All I want is the decision.
Yeah,
I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell Ned, couldn't tell me lad, whatever, if these are going to be good, bad, awful for Everton, or great for Everton, or media. I couldn't tell you that some of the stuff over here is alarming. There's a lot of hype with it, and people will give me things of how good this is. I'm like, things like Genoa spent the most in Serie A, and this, that, and the other, second most, whatever, right? Look at whatever you want. But what I do need, and what I cannot understand, is why we haven't had a decision. Something that was expected in the first week in December. It's the middle of February, and there isn't even like the saying, we'll give you the decision on Friday. It's just, to me, it just seems like they're going back to the bottom.
I 100% agree with you, but let's point fingers at everyone when we do it then, and say, well, what are you doing to make this quicker? What are Everton doing to make this quicker? What are the Premier League doing to make this quicker? What are 777 doing to make this quicker? Why isn't it transparent? Why aren't we being told as a fan base? Why aren't the media being told?
Why aren't the media chasing it?
If 777 have provided the evidence, don't tell a few people. Tell everybody. Because ultimately, the deal isn't with the Premier League. The deal is with Everton. You are buying Everton. You are not buying the Premier League. You are buying Everton. So legally, surely there must be precedent to say, we've provided the evidence. These people are stopping us, and therefore we're going to. Well, sadly, there isn't an ombudsman, but we are going to take this higher to someone else, because if you're marking our homework, and then and you're cheating, then we need to take this somebody else. If that's the case, do that. Open the doors, tell the world. But this has to be sped up. And if the Premier League are dragging their feet, don't let them drag their feet then. Why, if you were waiting for a mortgage or something, you'd be banging on the door every day.
Especially if it's costing you money and
exactly.
It looks like you're sinking.
And your club are a bit rudderless. And you're like, listen, we can't start doing things at this football club. We can't start putting things in place because we don't own this football club. We want to turn all that stuff we lent into equity. Listen, I don't know whether that debt sits on the balance sheet right now and looks really bad. You'd need John Plain to tell you that. But it is. They are loans.
Well, Liam's a Newcastle fan, says the Premier League didn't reject our takeover. The Saudis walked away first because the Premier League are doing what they are doing now. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm putting the spotlight back on them. If 777 haven't, I mean, the Premier League is basically like having a bleeding sieve. Anything they want to get out, it gets out. So when they wanted to put pressure on Everton, every media, every journalist had it, their mates all had it. And it was out there, they're getting this, they're getting that, they're getting 12 points, they're getting whatever. It was all out. Well, there's no dicky bird at the moment, so leak it then. If you are getting criticism because someone's asked you in a DCMS meeting what's happening with Everton's takeover and your back's against the wall and you're like, not being funny, it's them, it isn't us. These clowns over here haven't provided whatever. Leak it to a journalist to just say, no. And it can be a by the way.
No.
It can be almost like Everton have got that, they'll find out the outcome of the tribunal, of the appeal. And the takeover, 777 have failed to provide the Premier League with everything. Then at least it's out there and we know that the Premier League can go, see, it ain't us, it's these over here. Then we know. But I've got it on decent authority that they've provided the Premier League with everything they've been, and I trust this person when they tell me I've provided the Premier League with everything. So if the Premier League haven't made a decision, but they've got everything that they need to get, then what's happening then? What's the hold up with it? But Big Jim, fresh from his cycling, investments and all that comes in because it's United. I know it's different, I get it, but it just doesn't seem fair to me. And this is just my opinion. There'll probably be loads of people watching this who disagree with me. That's fine, no problem. I can only ever look at things through my own eyes, the way Ped looks through his and you look through yours. But to me, I just cannot understand that. It feels as though they've got us in the palm of their hands. They've took the piss with the points thing, which again, when I read the rules out, there is that should never ever come into it because it's, hang on, where's the actual thing, right? In the Premier League handbook, which is 346 pages, PSR's mentioned 8 times. 8 times across all of that, right? Analysis of the Premier League PSR regulations makes no mention of fair competition or sporting matters, clearly showing that PSR is solely an issue of ensuring that clubs manage their finances in a responsible manner. PSR is designed to ensure responsible financial management of football clubs, nothing to do with fair competition or gaining sporting advantages. So therefore, they're even in their own rules. It's a blag. And so then I lean on with you then and go, well, Everton shouldn't accept anything then.
That's...
If they turn around and go, well, yeah, you can have 6 back because that's the story today. It's looking like it might be 6 points coming back. Everton should go, no, mate, we're having no points taken off us because show us in your handbook where it says that PSR is used for sporting advantage because it doesn't. It's absolute bollocks. So it feels like they've got that and they're making it up as they go along here, which they are because they want to head off the independent regulator coming over the hill. And when they actually scratch the surface of what's going on, if Everton weren't building a stadium, would Everton have failed? No, that's just a fact. Wouldn't have got anywhere near failing it. And that's just a fact. Job done. But they've got that. And then we're rudderless because our owners are in Monaco doing whatever the fuck he wants. And we've got these people who You know, despite all the nonsense from other people who are in the know that there's these businessmen waiting with the silver briefcase, there's nobody in for Everton. Nobody bar 777. End of story. We don't know. I keep saying it. I have no clue whether 777 would be good for Everton Football Club or terrible for Everton Football Club. I'm not looking at them rubbing my hands together going, these are going to be fantastic. But who knows? What I do know is the owner in Monaco has lost total interest. And these fellas are making sure the lights stay on while we build that big stadium. We'll see whether they're good enough. But if they're not in the Premier League, I've got evidence just there in front of them that goes, these are terrible. Reject it and feed John Cross and feed David Ornstein, who they probably phone up. Oh, I'm just going for a burst, David, because they tell him everything else. Feed them and say 777's bid for Everton is all over the place. Again, though, it's terrible.
But again, though, it mightn't be a case of these people are terrible. It's paperwork, isn't it?
Okay, but if they haven't got money...
No, but I mean, it's paperwork, isn't it?
Does it not feel to you like we're just being left to bob along and it's getting drawn out and drawn out? If they'd have said, listen, this could take 5 months, you'd go, all right. They said straight away, the process is expected to be completed in 12 weeks. That was December, first week in December. It's the middle of February. They know the football club is in a hole because it's had to go to an independent commission. So already the pressure's on us. And if it's about fans, and it is our game, we have moved away from this thing where we've put all of faith in these people who basically just get richer every year. This group who run the Premier League, forget about the 20 clubs, they do it anyway. They 6 of them won everything their own way, and the other 14 are just like, please, sir, can you come and play at our ground? So the telly talk about us. It's embarrassing. It's not a competition. It's embarrassing. And these people are facilitating it. Richard Masters and people like that, absolutely facilitating what is an absolute shambles of a Premier League now. It's a shambles, the Premier League. And it's being managed in that way. So the rich get richer. But to me, how can you look at one of your members... and your own rules are there just to protect the football club, and yet what you're doing is putting the squeeze on them. You're not helping them. It's like seeing a fella outside bleeding somewhere homeless, and you take his quilt off him, or, you know, blankets, and you take the box he's sleeping off, and you go, should have looked after yourself, mate, shouldn't you? Get a shave and go to the job centre and get a job. That's what it's like when really you're supposed to be there trying to help that man or woman or whoever or kid who's had to run away from whatever. You're supposed to be there trying to see if you can help them in any way, because that's what your rules state. And yet what they're doing is the exact opposite on every single level. And I just think as football fans and as Evertonians, what do we do? What do we do? We have been pissed about for 2 years. Like absolutely constantly for 2 years. You know what I mean? And it's now the last 13 months have been horrific as an Everton.
What I would say is
horrific.
What I would say is the Premier League, I think, need to change or need to have some rules in place that indicate that a deal cannot take any longer than, say, 6 months. And if a deal is not done within 6 months, or maybe 6 months is too long for people, but you're talking about £1 billion deals now. So I don't know how long they take, but I can't imagine they take 5
These are the people who approved Mashiri, by the way. And look what he's done.
Well, that's maybe why it does take so long now. I don't know, but I'm just saying maybe that's why it does take. Maybe.
But to use your words yesterday, this was all because Portsmouth fucked it up.
No, it is.
That didn't have any.
I don't. I basically don't believe in any of this. But you know, to me, you're buying a football club, then unless you have an independent regulator, then I don't think the Premier League should be looking at it, because you do get in these scenarios then where they are, you know, judge, jury, and executioner. You do need an independent person to regulate rather than the Premier League doing it. Premier League should just should put the fixes out and do the games and sell stickers. They shouldn't be having And that's why they do want it all. They want it all so they can shape the game the way they do it. They won't get any disagreements out of me on that.
Sorry, I've just seen the Athletic article, like you said. Yeah, Masters is blaming COVID in Ukraine for the difficulties.
That's weird, isn't it?
That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
The two things that they refuse to accept. But anyway, sorry, go on, carry on.
This needs to be taken away from the Premier League, clearly. People want to buy football clubs. In fact, really, I mean, I know you've got is it 2 or 3 different boxes you've got to tick before you can buy a Premier League club now? And Everton, these have already ticked.
3, isn't it?
So these have already ticked a couple, aren't they? Well, then maybe that should be enough. Or maybe the third one should be an independent regulator who gets to say, not the Premier League. And at the moment, there should be something clearly that says, if it goes over a certain time scale, then it's done. Or it has to start again.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
But speak to us then.
It shouldn't drag. It should not drag on. It should not drag on. It was supposed to be 12 weeks. That was September. We're now in February. And no one knows really whether it's going to be done or not. We keep on getting led down the path by certain people saying, it'll be next week, or it's coming soon, or this or that, and you have to put your faith in it. But when that time runs out and we're no clearer to it, then you have to start looking at the situation going, does actually anybody know what's going on? And that's when there has to be transparency, and there isn't any transparency. And
Liam said this is exactly what happened with Newcastle. Amanda Staveley kept coming out saying we've given them everything they want, and the Premier League done nothing.
But the thing but Newcastle's very different.
But I think what Liam's saying is they've got previous of just leaving it.
Yeah, but what I would say with Newcastle is it was proved that Newcastle were the owners of Newcastle were completely wrong.
Yeah.
So it's all right them saying they give.
No, they were, but what he means is instead of coming out and going, we're not passing it because you're basically piping the games from Galway, you're just robbing Bean's gear. That's what I'm saying.
Lots of this, I absolutely agree with you. This process, and it's sad because what will happen is this process will be sorted now, so that the next one comes along. They get there is almost like a quick way of doing it, and it'll be off our backs once again, the same way as like Forest will probably get will benefit from us going through the process first. We do the first.
We're always first.
We are always the first. We are always, whether it's selling tickets via mobile phones, or whatever it is, we are always the first.
3-3 stands.
The problem is
half-time scores.
The people in charge at the Premier League haven't got a clue. They've bitten off more than they can chew, and hopefully we get an independent regulator soon to take some of this off them, because it really is it's a bureaucratic nightmare now, and the fella at the top clearly doesn't know how to handle it all. He doesn't have the people. The Premier League is like looked upon as this big, massive organisation, but it's clearly 3 fellas in a bedroom. Basically running it, except the bedroom is a nice shiny building, loads of glass because they've got loads of money to play with.
No, that's it.
And we have to have someone. Again, the football club will tell us that they can't say nothing and it's a legal process and all this kind of thing. But surely at some point someone has to come out and start telling us, as fans, as worried fans, as a fan base that has already, done demonstrations. Because I'll tell you what'll happen is someone will do something silly.
No.
Someone will do something silly soon, because people will get wound up. They will get wound up, and we know what happens. So, it's a thing that has ran and ran and ran. Didn't really want to talk about it today, to be honest. I wanted to talk about the Corey, but it, some news broke just earlier on today. So,
well, what? Come on.
No, just saying about Manchester United, about being taken over. That situation being done. So
that's on MSAG in a minute.
So it's theirs is done. Whether Everton can point to that now and say, well, hang on, what's gone on there? Why aren't we being dealt with in a speedier fashion? We just need it is all assumption. It is all guesswork till we know. But it is quite funny that Master's coming out blaming Ukraine and COVID, when basically that's what we've been saying for a very long time of why we are in the situation we are in, because that is why we are.
It's real. It's a real thing.
You can be frivolous. You can be stupid with your money. You can make terrible buys. You can do all that. But if everything's still okay in the plus column, you know, and then suddenly two things come along and blow it out the wall.
Without the stadium, we wouldn't have failed. That's it. It's the end of it. And it's a 4-year process, and for 2 of those years, the Premier League agreed that the stadium would negatively affect, and then halfway through changed the process because there was an independent regulator coming over the hill. It's the only reason why they've done it. What's changed? If you agree to something, why are you changing the rules halfway through to suit your agenda? It's got nothing to do with player trading. Even for the one season last year, Everton had a £25 million profit. When you look through the whole thing, they were one of 3 clubs, I think, you had profits. The PSR's been positively trending for the last 3 years, so it isn't that. And for the last 5 years, Everton are 3rd bottom for net spend. We spent the least, the 3rd least, in terms of net spend. People do have this mad thing in their head that it's still 2017 and we had one summer. And the irony of that summer in 2017 is we didn't spend what Nottingham Forest spent. We spent 25 million less. So that's the irony of it. People talked about it as if we spent the 600 million Chelsea spent in the 22-23 season. Yeah. That's the thing about it. And these journalists who obviously aren't intelligent enough to just do a little bit of digging and go, oh, this is actually wrong what the Premier League have told me because it's factual in front of me. I've just ran with a line they've been fed by the Premier League that it was the Everton have failed it because they bought players. Because they got 28 million for Luca Dean and spent 6.1 million on Mikalenko and Nathan Patterson. So that 20 odd million plus. Oh, no, that was the reason. Josh says, after last couple of comments, afternoon lads, I'm currently manifesting a scenario where this time next week we're on 32 points and pushing for a Conference League play. But we'll be on, 32, beat Palace and then we're flying.
Absolutely.
Stuart says the green light should be soon then, or Little Dicky and his cronies' agenda against Everton will become even more obvious. Myers says apparently 777's main fund suppliers are being investigated for fraud in Utah. I can't see this going through. Gareth says just once let things go our way. I'm imagining logging online on Thursday to a Toffee TV title, 10 points deduction overturned in full, and 777 takeover in doubt as Qatari investment fund gazump there.
That would be beautiful.
That'd be a nice day, wouldn't it? Martin says Everton and us and fans have been respectful to the Premier League during the time of appeal and investment deliberation. Do you think more organised protests at the Premier League HQ would have had more impact? Seems they see us as a soft touch. No idea, Martin. Whether they just think, oh, it's just them clowns again. I don't know.
I don't think they see us as a soft touch. It's just that the media aren't willing to back us. You know,
because they've been fed a certain line,
you know,
and they've got to be careful. You know, them.
A lot of pressure on you, by the way. Lots of pressure on you.
On me?
Yeah.
For which?
100%. When you go to the next the overlap.
No.
Lots of pressure.
Oh, so I was doing my homework yesterday.
Because if I was going, I'd have some words for Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, because I squarely blame those two. No, I do. I think they're a huge part of the problem. Those two.
Well, they've been fed.
But they're a big part of the problem because number one,
I was doing my homework yesterday.
Number one, I'd tell them that they shouldn't be allowed to commentate on the.
I've already done
because actually, that undermines a lot of what people believe in terms of the media, because it just makes them out to be a laughingstock. But so don't get that homework done.
It's just facts, isn't it?
Yeah, it is facts. It is because the media are a huge part of this now because. Seen stuff from the weekend. Seen Nottingham Forest penalty that they should have had a 2-2 on Saturday. It's a penalty, Stonewall penalty, and like not a dicky bird about it. Basically, our one against Fulham match of the day didn't even show it. The handball. If something happens, we've said it loads of times, but this they are a big part of it. If this stuff was happening to 2 top 6 teams, what is happening to us? The media will be talking about it day and night, and they've created that scenario, like you said before. They've created that scenario, and those people never bat an eyelid about it. Neville and Carragher. I thought Carragher embarrassed himself last night, high-fiving Petr Cech when Chelsea got the. How does that look to us? So they showed the clip of when Chelsea got the second or third goal and they're in the studio watching it, and Carragher's high-fiving Petr Cech when Chelsea scored.
Why?
Because he was all dead Man United about it. I was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Weird.
How does that look to a Palace fan?
Hmm?
Do you know what I mean? Like, how does that look?
No, that is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really weird.
Yeah. There's just too much. It's too incestuous at times.
That's the right word.
And that's the problem with it. Is that it? And everyone backs it. It's the problem.
And they love going away to their own podcast, by the way, and having a good talk about it.
But they won't be allowed to talk about it.
Well,
they
have the power.
No, I know, but they won't really.
They're producers. We've dealt with the people who produce those shows. They haven't got a clue. They haven't got a clue. The lads fresh out of uni who wear white socks over their jeans. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got a clue. And Air Force Ones, they haven't got a clue. They're the power. They're the people who drive the shows on. They're the people who push the shows.
No. Anthony says, afternoon lads, always hope the end of Moshiri era could have been potentially similar to City under Shinawatra, and our next owners be the ones who bring the club back to the top table. 777 may well be those, but I'm very sceptical given the amount of noise around them and all sorts of news outlets. Just would be nice to have a future in a new stadium with hope and optimism, not having to worry about.
That's still
might happen, mate. That's
still there.
I just think we need to get over to that stage, and we're not being allowed to. That's just the way it is. And Rich says, did you read the Bible, Pet?
Only the good bits.
Okay. Fair enough. Benjamin says, Pedder's agreeing with you with the Premier League being slow with regards to the points, but doesn't believe they could drag anything out regarding 777. Where's the proof it's on 777? And when 777 have said they've given them everything. And then other people said, James says, I agree with Ped. It's up to 777 to get their voice out there.
It's up to people at the football club. Listen, as Baz has said, you can leak whatever you want to your favourite journalists and get stories out. People do it all the time, whether it be football clubs, whether it be Premier Leagues, whether it be whoever. Players do it all the time when they want to make them tell the world what happened to them or whatever. There are ways of doing this, and at the moment, it's a bit poor that nobody's willing to tell us as the fan base, because it does. I've said this loads of times. We've said this. People are very worried, internally very worried about the future of our football club, and no one has given them any kind of reassurance. And that's what people need. And reassurance as a football club drives emotion. If you're not going to Goodison worried about the situation as much, so you feel a little bit more at ease. That 10 points, if we got that 10 points back, we walked into the game on Monday, we're all buzzing. We're all buzzing. Ground's rocking. Every home game is going to be boss. You go into it now, you're like, oh, no. You take that, give us that 10 points back, we might all be a little bit less worried about 777 even.
I'd be less worried about when Crystal Palace went 1-0 up last night. And then I'm fuming. Full WhatsApp I was fuming. Jack put it on, didn't want to watch, he put it on. Dad, Palace have scored. I was like, get it off. Absolutely livid. You know what I mean? I want to just be able to go, did Chelsea win? Fair play.
I just don't.
You know what I mean?
Silent Witness was on, mate.
No, I didn't. I made them turn it off.
So you've got to spend just Monday night to know about Silent Witness. Yeah. That's how you've got to get into it. Scammers first, 8:30. Then Silent Witness. That's how you've got to fill your time. Look at other people's misery.
Yeah. Well,
that's what you do.
Fair enough. Thanks for the comment, Stephen Lee. Don't need to read that up, but thank you very much. We're just giving our own opinions, and if they're in line with yours, brilliant. Corin, thank you very much for your comments. And Toffee, thank you very much for your comments. Much appreciated. Yeah. Right. Excuse me. We're going to just grab another drink. 2:15. Stay here. 2:15. We can look a little bit more about Manchester. What was the Decore thing before we go?
Basically, like he's should be fit for Monday.
For Palace.
I wanted to have a positive chat.
What a good one. I know, I didn't think we were going to do an hour on that, but I think
I wanted to have a positive chat.
Doesn't it? But that'll be good. If he is fit for Monday, then that's great news for us, and hopefully we can, him and Onana back make a huge difference. And that's a big game now, isn't it? We beat, regardless of the points right now, we beat Palace on Monday with 2 points behind them, and they're right in the mix, aren't they? So that's our focus now, isn't it? Luton have got some bad games coming up and everything, so we just got to try to put that pressure on them. But Richard, if you're watching it, do yourself a favour and start making some decisions. Stop ripping Everton. Because the Ukraine and COVID are real things that happened that did affect things, as you're now bleating to the Athletic with the same things, despite ignoring us. So there you go. Right, the magical transportational link is here. Make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to this channel. Stay on when we do more than a game in probably around 4 minutes time. You've got enough time to grab a drink. Let's chat more footy with me and Ped in 4 minutes. Use the magical transportational link. Do all of them other good things.
Not actually called the magical
No, just you have to do anything. You literally don't have to do anything.
It's like, sounds like Doctor Strange or something.
Yeah, we don't.
Magic, it's science.
Yeah, or science, whatever.
Is it not logistics?
No.
Feels a bit
It's
more.
not science.
It is.
It's not science.
It's technology science.
It's logistics. It's
Computer
basically getting you
science.
from one place to the next, which is logistics.
Computer science.
It's not computer science.
The logistics would be like walking down the road.
Right, listen.
Magical
Stay where you are. The screen will light up with our beautiful faces again in about 3.5 minutes. See you in a minute. Thanks for watching.